eThekwini municipality from 17% to 16% this year. There is no denying that unemployment is a serious problem facing our country when it should not be used as a political football. It requires government across all spheres to work together. It requires company executives and trade unions to find a solution on wages and other challenges using instruments that our democratic government has availed to resolve this industrial challenge. The challenges of electricity shortage that we're experiencing now have a negative impact on our economy. But as we have said, there are plans that we have. President Zuma, in the last 5 years, we have spent about 1 trillion rand on infrastructure development, indicating that we are, in fact, doing the right things. For us, a message is very clear. Contrary to the wishes of the official opposition, South Africa has weathered the storms of 2008 financial and economic crisis much better than many of the modern economies around the globe. Challenges of unemployment, of poverty, of inequality persist, but we have a national development plan to help us address all these challenges. There is a plan, the NDP, which plan, as we believe, even opposition parties support. Let us all focus our energies in implementing this plan. But there is one lesson that we should all learn from this. You cannot keep on doing the same thing the same way, thinking that you will have different results. At the end of this debate, after much noise from the opposition parties, as sure as the sun will rise from the east, President Zuma will still be the President of the Republic of South Africa. I wish members of the opposition could learn and live with that fact. Two things may happen before their will is realized. Firstly, the pigs would have flown, and secondly, the hens would have grown teeth. In short, it ain't gonna happen. Thank you.
The Honorable Sonti.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Steenhuisen.
Madam Speaker, may I address you on a point of order?
What's the point of
Madam
order?
Speaker,
Honorable?
part of Parliament's duty in terms of the Constitution is to facilitate public involvement in the debates in this House. I would like you to please investigate why Channel 408, which is a parliamentary channel, has found fit to put a whole lot of other stuff on today and is not broadcasting the very important debate which we're having in the House today. And this goes to the very heart of the complaints that were made about why it is essential that outside broadcasters be allowed to have access to a feed. Because I certainly think a motion of no confidence in the President would take precedent over questions being answered by a minister in the National Council of Provinces.
That actually really is not a point of order in terms of the proceedings of this House. We will, of course, take what you are telling us as interesting information and follow it up. Honorable Sonti.
Ngiyabonga somlomo undinike elithuba. Okokuqala mina ndithi lo tata upresident hayi makakhe aphumle azibeke phansi intambo. Akazidonsi kakuhle. Ngitsho ndisimela iEFF. Futhi ke ndime kule ndawo njena ndizawuthethela iMarikana. Into awayenzayo eMarikana ukubulala abantwana babantu befuna amalungelo abo. I-12,500 kuphela wakwazi yani mama kathumela amapolisa azokubabulala ngoba bafuna imali le angafuna ukubanika yona. Ndithi makahlale phansi aphumle. Ukhohlakele uthumela amapolisa endaweni yokokuba abanike lento abayifuna incincana ningaka nabo bafuna ukuphila njengaye bafuna ukokha izibaya naye.
Honorable members, as a point of order, please take your seat. Honorable
Speaker, the honorable member just said that the president killed people in Marikana.
Pardon?
That's the honorable member in her speech. She just said now the president killed people in Marikana. She needs to withdraw that statement because it's wrong.
Honorable Ndlozi, please take your seat. I want to deal with the issue that has been raised. Honorable member. Honorable Sonti, please.
Okanye noba akasazi isiXhosa esindisithethayo uzuthetha
Hlala
isiNgesi.
phansi, sisi. The honorable member is pointing out that you are making an allegation that the president sent troops to go and kill people in Marikana. Now, leyo ke into sisi sicela nje in terms of the rules again. Withdraw nje.
Ndithi iba ngaba isiXhosa akasazi okanye mandiphinde nditsho okanye zabamcacisele uthumele amapolisa ipolisa libulele umuntu lelikabani
Honorable Sonti Honorable Sonti
ndimamele somlomo
sisi hlala phansi.
Honorable Speaker.
You cannot say umntu uthumele amapolisa ukuba ayobulala abantu.
Honorable Speaker.
Because I'm not aware that wena we were investigator wayifumana lenyani wena.
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Lozi, please take your seat. Please take your allow me to finish what you cannot stop me from saying something when I'm in the middle.
Okay, can you please recognize
Please
me?
take a seat. Take
Can
a
you
seat.
please recognize?
Take a seat. So, Honorable Sonti, please rhoxisa sis. Uqhubeke ke ne-speech sakho.
Sake ndirhoxise.
Okay.
Okay, ndiyayirhoxisa.
Okay.
Kodwa ke isiXhosa sona sitolikwa. Ndithi ke babefuna 12,500 kodwa bafa. Uba babethunyelwe ngibani uyazazi kapha phakathi kwenu. Okwesithathu futhi kulaa ndawo bahleli kuyo kusabole namhlanje yi2.5 years ngoku kusafana ii-toilets ezi nithi urhulumente uzithumele phaa bayazithengisa abantabenu amani babeke phaa bathengisela abantu bangaphandle amatshangana. Utata lo ke imbangi yoba ndikhale kakhulu ndithi makahlale phantsi bafaka abantu emarikana kodwa kwi-state of the nation apha akukho nento eyi-1 awakhe wayithetha ngemarikana ayikho neyi-1 futhi kukho utata ekuthiwa ngutata uRamaphosa ndiyaqonda uba bayiqhuba boyithule le nqanawe ngoba kaloku naye unayo i-email phaa phambili noba sifundanga saziva izinto ezi awayithumela phaa elon min batsho bafa aba bantwana. Andizizelanga ke apha ndithunyiwe ngaba basebenzi aba bashiyekayo aba baye basala phaa entabeni xa babebulawa ndizithunywe ngabo apha uba ndizonixelela uba nikhohlakele. Basakhalana namhlanje aba bafazi iintsana zabo bangazazi bazozondla ngantoni na. Nina ndiyadla nigqopha ibhotolo. Nikhohlakele kakhulu ndithi makahlale phantsi uZuma nikhohlakele futhi ulilo nesela andazi ke ngesingesi uba kuthiwani wayiba yona imali le kuba zange agqithe kuni nina abantu balapha eSouth Africa xa izayithatha 246 million ulisela.
Honorable Chief Whip.
Speaker. Andazi Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Chief Whip.
Inkokeli ye-opposition ibisandukurhoxa le nto inye andani uba uthena angayikopi laa nto angayithethi qha makarhoxe lo sinyani
Makarhoxise i-statement esi asenzileyo.
Makarhoxa please rhoxa
Comrade Mama Usonti rhoxisa le ndawo ithi
ndirhoxise iphi indawo ke ngoku
le ndawo ithi
zimbini sisi
eyobulala noba eyobusela.
zimbini.
Honorable Zoe, take your seat.
But the Honorable Chief Whip is entering in a dialogue with the Honorable member on the platform.
Chief Whip, nawe uyithethile
Rhoxisa, Chief Whip, uhlale phansi kaloku.
Honorable Zoe, I didn't recognize you.
Honourable Speaker, there are two things that I'm objecting to. Eyokuqala, usisi uthi upresident uthumela amachangana phaya. Ucho usisi. Okwesibini, upresident lisela. Ndithi makazirhoxise zombini ezo zinto.
Honorable Sonti. Zikhona sisi izinto ongeke ukwazi
Order,
uzithetha
Speaker.
apha endlini. Honorable. No. Honorable
Order,
Maxine,
Speaker.
I am addressing Honorable Sonti.
Kodwa ke Speaker nathi sicela ukunqoba
Honorable
phela.
Maxine, I'm busy addressing Honorable
But
Sonti.
Honorable Speaker, we can't allow
Take your
the Chief Whip of
seat,
the ANC
Honorable
distorting the
Maxine.
member in podium.
Please
We
take your
can't.
seat.
We have to address the Chief Whip of the ANC.
Honorable
He is distorting
Maxine.
the member on the podium.
Honorable Maxine, take your seat. Mamu Sonti, hlala phansi sisi, so that I can address the issues that have been raised to you. Iti into sisi. Tata Umaimane, who was here as the first speaker in this motion, had to withdraw umba walento eti umongameli ulisela. He had to withdraw. Sicela ke nawe ungayiphindi i-withdraw leyo.
Ngelishwa ke speaker wam omhle. Isingesi andisiva.
Okay.
Umayimane lowo andikhange ndimve. Futhi mna I'm not Mayimane. I am Primrose Sonti and soze ndirhoxe. Qha nina ithani mandingatsho okubana
Honorable
iitoilets
Sonti.
ziyebiwa ziyathengiswa.
Honorable Sonti.
Utata yena lisela. Soze ndiwithdrawe. Never.
Honorable Sonti, awuzukwazi ukuthetha kule ndlu uba ngaba awuvumelani nokuhlonipha imithetho yalapha endlini.
Ndihlonipha kakhulu
Ndicela
mama.
uwithdraw wesisi.
Ndihlonipha kakhulu but
Can you
angeke.
withdraw eso statement?
Udraw kurhoxisa ne angeke ndirhoxise.
Uba awurhoxisi ndicela usuke ke sisi kulo podium.
Ndisuke ne imandi lonto ndinixelele.
Honorable members, take your seats, please. I now invite Honorable Nkomo.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Honorable Speaker,
Yeah, Hamare.
may you please recognize me?
What is your issue, Honorable Ndlozi?
Honorable Speaker, you never expressed yourself on the point of order that was earlier put forward,
Which point of order?
that the motion in debate at the moment, it's a substantial motion to which members are taking an opportunity to explain why, in their perspective, they think the president must step down. And part of those reasons is that they think the president is a thief.
Honorable
Please,
Ndlozi,
Honorable Speaker,
I
rule
don't- I'm
as
not-
to whether it is part of a substantial motion, because you said we can't,
Honorable-
and therefore we must come back to do a substantial motion.
Honorable Ndlozi,
And we are arguing
You-
that this is the
you
opportunity
are not
to say that.
allowed to utter unparliamentary statements in the chamber on the pretext that it is in motivating your point. That is why Honorable Maimane accepted to withdraw. Can you please just take your seat and let's proceed with the debate? As it is, the honorable member who just left the podium has broken the rules. Honorable Malema, please take your seat.
Can I address you, Speaker?
Please take your
Please.
seat, Honorable Malema.
Please, Honorable-
Honorable Malema, take your
No,
seat.
I've got a different
I
point to
really,
raise.
I don't want to have a
I've
fight
got-
with you.
No,
Please
no, I
take a
also
seat.
don't want to fight with you.
Take a seat.
But
Then
can
I
I
can
address you,
recognize you. I
please?
want to recognize you when you have raised your hand properly. I now recognize you, Honorable Malema.
Honorable Speaker, the whole country can see that you have a problem with me.
What
Because,
problem?
and Chief Whip, don't do that, because you stood up without raising a hand and you spoke, and she never did that to you. You are a Chief Whip who's supposed to be guiding on how we should do
Honorable
these things.
Malema, raise your point.
The point I'm raising, Honorable Speaker, I'm asking, and it's not a decision that you can take now. The statement you made about the ruling of the Constitutional Court and how the court's decisions affect us can be misinterpreted, and at an appropriate moment, please find a way of clarifying that.
All right.
The second point I'm raising is that Honorable Sonti, when she says Amashangan, and this is my experience, is that
she doesn't refer to Tsonga or Shangani speaking people. When they say Amashangan, they are referring to foreigners. She's saying you are selling toilets to the foreigners. I had a problem with that in a meeting I addressed in a community in Gauteng where they said people are giving Amashangan houses here. And I said to them, what do you mean by Amashangan? And they were saying we're referring to foreigners. They are giving houses to foreigners. So it's a language commonly used by ordinary people. You won't know because you don't interact with ordinary people.
Honorable Malema, that is a point of view, that is an interpretation, and I really want to proceed to allow Honorable Nkomo to make her input.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to inform the Speaker that 10 seconds had been taken away from my time. I just would like it to be
table
brought back.
staff must please give her back her 10 seconds.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Since taking office in 2009, President Zuma has given strong direction on some issues, but on others, our president has lacked the political will to lead. He has spoken from both sides of his mouth and led with ambiguity, if not indifference. This has created a deeper problem for South Africa, for the president has set the example for his administration. Coupled with the absence of accountability, it has opened the door to corruption and a breakdown in government. Under the president's watch, South Africa has begun to experience excessive delays in service delivery, threats to foreign direct investment, escalating criminality, and the burden of government. We are faced with social, political, and economic instability. In response, the president has preferred rhetoric over action, and government follows the lead by talking more and delivering less. The expanded public works program is a prime example. There are constant reports of people being forced to join the ANC before being considered to work opportunities, yet no investigation is done. Such blatant corruption is antithetical to democracy, but democracy cannot thrive under this administration. That has been proven by Nkandla, but our president denying any measures of responsibility for the gross misuse of public funds spent on his home, despite his own cabinet being in charge of the whole process. There is no place for ambiguity or indifference over Nkandla. The public protector made it clear that the president unduly benefited and must pay back a reasonable portion of the cost to the state. Instead of acknowledging this, the president's cabinet and the president's party have sought to discredit both the report and the public protector. We have had Nkandla and the president remains. We have had Marikana and the president remains. We have had armed security forces entering this house on the order of the national chairperson of the ruling party, using her authority as the Speaker of the National Assembly, and the president not only remains, but he left. The IFP respects the office of the president. It is painful to see it being challenged, but painful too to see it being compromised. For now, as the IFP, we cannot support this motion. Though our country is paying the price, we are on a wrong trajectory, and a bold, difficult, and selfless act is needed to break from this path and set us on a path of healing. I thank you.
The Honorable Kubisa.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, thank you very much. No matter how you try to explain it, Madam Speaker, the issue of Nkandla is still going to haunt us for many years to come. And wherever you go, people speak about it. His Excellency the President spoke about it, and he said it blatantly that he's not going to pay. But I must say, it's still going to be with us. After all, Advocate Thuli Madonsela was very generous in the recommendations. He said, pay the portion because you benefited unduly. And what is a portion? The president would have known better that the portion would have been paid by now. Pay the portion. He said so. fowl run, chicken run, crawl, swimming pool. This is what the taxpayer is paying for. South Africans wake up every morning with the hope that things will turn for the better. But for the majority of them, it is a bizarre. Their lives remain the same with minimum or no opportunities at all. This undoubtedly undermines our democracy. Millions of South Africans are unemployed, poor, illiterate, and plagued by hunger, starvation, and many social ills, including scarcity of resources to empower them and also make their lives better. We need to revolutionize public and private institutions so that they better serve the interest of our people. The instability that characterizes the NPA, the Special Investigating Unit, the Hawks, and many other critical units tells a story of ineffective structures of governance, which spills over to every delicate organ of our state. This inability has been continuing unabatedly. The NFB is unhappy about the lackluster approach of the government with regard to creating conditions that are conducive to job creation, poverty alleviation, and the reduction of unemployment. The government has not taken robust measures aiming at boosting and jump-starting economic growth. Our economy is very sluggish and keeps ailing, and no bold attempts are taken to boost investor confidence. Unemployment levels are above 36%. The projection is that the economy will not grow above 2% by the end of this financial year. That clearly tells a story that a lot of people will be jobless by the end of the financial year. And that stops at the door of the president. This is the bleak story that stops at the door of the President Zuma and his cabinet. This bleak story, it epitomizes the government that the president leads. Very little is being done to inject small businesses and entrepreneurship with the money that they need in order for them to grow. South Africa is yearning for visionary and purpose-driven leadership, but the president has none to offer. A little over 15 people in our country pay tax. Increase of tax, increase of fuel. No bold measures are taken, have been taken to vigorously clamp on fraudulent tendencies and corruption in our country. Corruption is rampant in the public and corporate sectors. The ANC-led government is not doing enough to curb corruption. Even in NPOs, NGOs, etc., they are giving money, they don't use it. Most of the corporate executives and hefty salaries and huge bonuses, yet they fail to perform and deliver. What has happened in Eskom? If you think the NFP is exaggerating, go to Eskom, the home of load shedding, and see how much executive earn, yet ordinary people are suffering. Nibaningi, sibaningi, singamphumuza kancane sithi ukuthatha siqhubeke siye phambili.
The Honorable Sisulu.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, John Milton, in his poem entitled On His Blindness, meditates on his own tragic loss of sight. It is not his inability to see that he bemoans, but more substantially, he bemoans his loss of relevance. He aptly captures it when he says in his opening line to the sonnet, I quote, "When I consider how my light is spent," close quotes. To the DA who put this motion of no confidence in the president before us, your light is spent. Right now, the ratings on Twitter indicate, Honorable Maimani, that you are a desperate man trying to prop up a desperate party. That you are clutching for relevance. Milton speaks of his inability to see with the inner eye and his lack of ability to reason. In the case of the DA, it would be the refusal to see. In plain English, it is called an ingrained prejudice. It is well known that the Democratic Alliance has an axe to grind with President Zuma, has had it for a long time, long before he became a president. The DA has made it his business to attack and hurl insults at the president. What clearly informs the psyche of the DA is nothing more than a deep-rooted hatred of the person of the president, which he himself has called, I quote, playing the man and not the ball. Play the ball and not the man. Honorable Maimani comes here and pretends that the DA has always honored our poor President Mandela. It was the same kind of treatment that he got, which you are giving now to President Zuma, which is why he called you a Mickey Mouse party. And I wonder why that you are still a Mickey Mouse party even now. Yeah. And what I don't mind. If Goofy represents Madiba, I don't mind. You are still Mickey Mouse. What is also instructive is how you use selective examples about what it is that you want to put on the table. In the Western Cape, for the rest of 2014, this province lost 64,000 jobs while other provinces were growing. Why do you forget that? Why do you forget that? Here we are 10 months after our voters returned the ANC and its president on a 62% landslide, debating something that the voters have so eloquently concluded on. But we do so as an affirmation of the constitution of the ANC that we bequeathed to all of you. A constitution that is both tolerant and accommodating, even to the most misguided and insecure such as yourselves. Honorable Maimani, out there on Twitter, everybody is telling the story that you are being propped up by your chief whip behind there.
Order. Honorable Minister, can you just take a seat, pause a little?
Will the Minister, who zoomed around this country on a Gulfstream executive
No,
jet
Honorable
$11 million rands worth zooming around this country.
Honorable Mainir,
this us on wasteful expenditure.
Honorable Mainir, please take your seat. You clearly have no point of order. Honorable Sisulu, continue.
I want to put it on Hansard that is a Betty lunatic of a member of parliament. The voters...
Point of order.
Point of order, Honorable Steenhuisen.
A seasoned veteran, and I mean it in the nicest possible way, of Parliament, would know that that's unparliamentary, and I'd ask you that she withdraws it. Thank you.
Honorable Sisulu, please withdraw.
Honorable Speaker, when people make Betty gestures, when we have agreed in this House, they are nothing but Betty.
Honorable Sisulu, just withdraw, please.
I withdraw that the member is indeed Betty. May I continue, Speaker?
Please continue.
He's still Betty, and you allow...
Madam Speaker, with
Madam
respect.
Speaker, I also need your protection. No gestures are allowed here.
Honorable,
you allow these gestures,
Honorable
and
Sisulu,
at the same time...
Honorable Sisulu, take a seat so I can listen to the Honorable Steenhuisen.
Madam Speaker, I would venture to say to you that the word Batty is within the bounds of parliamentary privilege, and I accept that. It was the Honourable Deputy Minister's assertion that the Mania is a lunatic, that she must withdraw.
Which she withdrew. But why are you calling her Deputy Minister? She's a minister.
Oh, Minister. The fact is that she withdrew that he was Batty. She didn't withdraw the fact that she called him a lunatic, and I asked that she withdraws.
Honourable Minister, I thought you withdrew lunatic because that's what is unparliamentary.
Honourable Speaker, may I request you, please? You have made a ruling on numerous occasions that gestures that are demeaning are not allowed.
No, fine. Honourable Minister. Let's just withdraw the lunatic part. Honourable Minister, withdraw lunatic.
I will withdraw lunatic from those people who behave like bats, and therefore I would call them Betty.
Honourable, please continue. Continue now.
This is a desperate attempt.
Of order, Chair.
Honourable Lozi, what's the point of order now?
Honourable Chairperson, we must withdraw unparliamentary remarks unconditionally. The honorable minister must unconditionally withdraw that other honorable members are lunatics here.
Honorable Ndlozi,
Unconditional.
I'm satisfied, Honorable Ndlozi, that the minister has withdrawn lunatic. Please proceed, Honorable Sisulu.
Honorable Speaker, I think that I've lost some minutes while you
Yes,
were
you'll
correcting
get them
this. It was
back.
3:30.
You'll get them back.
Can I get them
Please,
back?
On a point of order, Speaker.
please restore the minutes that are missing.
On a point of order, Speaker.
What's the point of order?
Speaker, I have noted while the Honorable Ndlozi was raising his point of order, the minister was still standing on her feet, point one, and the minister was
Honorable
standing on her
Minister,
feet
please
and
take
al-
a seat. Just take a seat.
That clearly doesn't show signs of respect for the member that is standing and raising the point of order. And point number two, I have noted last week you asked the president to withdraw and he didn't clearly hear you. And now you are asked again, the minister to withdraw, and she didn't want to withdraw unconditional. So I think, Speaker, it's time that you emphasize when you are making rulings, even ministers and presidents must obey rulings that is coming from your table. I thank you.
I thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister, please proceed.
This is a misguided.
On a
this
point
is
of order, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Likota.
Madam Speaker. It is very important. It is very important that you earn our respect. If, therefore, you make a ruling that the minister should withdraw the word lunatic, she cannot make it conditional by saying, I will withdraw it to those people who do not wave their hands or something. If that word is unparliamentary, please, Madam Speaker, make it unconditional so that all of us can then obey your rulings, knowing that you will be impartial on the question. I do want to say, Madam Speaker, if you allow the minister to say she will withdraw it to those who are this and that and the other, then that is not the withdrawal. That's not the ruling you have made. Your ruling is that lunatic must be withdrawn, and let it be withdrawn. Thank you.
By the time we were dealing with, by the time Honorable Ndlozi raised the issue of the minister being conditional in her withdrawal, I had already heard the minister withdraw lunatic, but she made some statements. So the unconditional withdrawal of the word lunatic, I am convinced she had already done. She had already withdrawn. Honorable members, can I ask the minister please to conclude her speech?
Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Carter.
Speaker, there was not an unconditional withdrawal. And earlier on, EFF members were asked to leave the podium for not wanting an unconditional withdrawal. So the minister must give an unconditional withdrawal.
Honorable Minister, can you give an unconditional withdrawal?
Achtbare Speaker.
No, Honorable Groenewald. Honorable Groenewald, please take a seat.
Achtbare Speaker, u weet nie eens wat ek wil sê.
Honorable Groenewald.
Achtbare Speaker, u is lede hier agter wat ons vloek.
Honorable Groenewald, please take
Achtbare Speaker, hier is 'n achtbare lid hier agter wat ons vloek.
Honorable
En ek sal dit nie
Groenewald.
duld nie.
Honorable Groenewald, I actually have an outstanding case against the Honorable Groenewald on that same type of matter. So please allow me to proceed with the point of order raised by the Honorable Member, and I had addressed myself to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, please withdraw unconditionally.
Madam Speaker, you heard me correctly. I did withdraw. I therefore also asked your protection against the gestures that are being conducted when, in fact, we had agreed that it would. Those gestures. Honorable Speaker, there it is.
No, it's okay. I think I will leave the honorable members to enjoy themselves. Just proceed and finish your speech.
I think, Honorable Speaker...
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Steenhuisen, please, Honorable Steenhuisen. Honorable Steenhuisen, please, can you just assist me to proceed with this House?
I'm trying to, but the minister
no,
has not
please.
No,
she has withdrawn. What more do you want?
She didn't. She just used the opportunity to withdraw to have a go at Honourable Maney and about gestures. She has not withdrawn.
But gestures are wrong, Honourable
That's fine, but you must rule against Honourable Maney then, but it doesn't take away from the fact that Minister Sisulu must withdraw unconditionally.
Honourable Minister Sisulu has withdrawn. I'm satisfied with that. And I have not even ruled on the issue of the gestures. Honourable Ndlozi, please take your seat. Take your seat, Honourable Ndlozi. I want to proceed to finish with this debate.
Yes, Honourable Speaker, I'm rising on a point of order.
No, Honourable Ndlozi.
The rules allow me, no?
What do you want?
A point of order, that's what I said.
What is the point of order?
Honourable Speaker, we really have a problem. I put it to you, Honourable Speaker, that you are spoiling the ministers. They look like the favorite children to you. Your favorite children, you treat them with inconsistency in relation to how you treat us. If I was in that platform, Honourable Speaker, I put it to you. You would have said, I must say the words, I withdraw unconditional.
No, I've
in an
never
event
said
in which
that.
If I don't, you would have said I must leave the podium.
No.
In an event in which I don't leave the podium, you would have asked the black and whites to come and remove me.
Honourable
So
Ndlozi.
I put it to you, Speaker. This is favoritism. They are spoiled children. You know, they can come and say anything. You tiptoe and egg walk around them. The Honourable Minister must withdraw unconditional. She must say, I withdraw unconditional.
She has withdrawn.
And stop
I'm not
asking for
going back
protection.
there.
She is very much protected. In fact, much more protected than the rest of us.
Honourable Ndlozi, please. Don't take us round and round and round. Don't take us round and round. And in fact, there are no children here. Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Speaker, this is just a desperate attempt. Even Ahang, a 0.02% party, in retrospect, was much cleverer. They merely scuppered off with the tail between their legs when they realized that this was a desperate attempt. The voters indicated their confidence in the ANC and in the President in recognition of the ANC's achievements. Even when the Honourable Maimane was standing here at the SONA, he could not but acknowledge that we have made incredible strides in this country. Most of our citizens are living in dignity. We have provided houses, education, health and access to land. We are doing this at a rate unprecedented in the world and free. South Africans who voted the ANC into government know that they will do this again and vote us in power in the next 5 years and every 5 years thereafter. Quite frankly, what we have here is a process of parliament that has become the latest casualty of the opposition stampede for self-promotion. It says something about a parliament that is gradually being turned into the theatrics which Honourable Shenge spoke about during his SONA, rather than a place to establish a legislature. Honourable Speaker, please can you protect me from this noise?
Honourable Minister, you are protected. Just ignore them and just complete your speech.
Accountability. Accountability is a word that is bandied about by the opposition, only applying to the ANC. It applies to each and every MP who is here, because we are all paid by the taxpayers' money. The opposition imagines that the taxpayers' money is used for them, and it pays for the times that they are captured in the media and they throw the theatrics that Honourable Shenge was talking about. being a member of parliament is much more than the opportunity to protect or promote the self. Now, let me tell you what we have. My brother has nothing to do with this. My brother did not take...
Honorable members, please allow Honorable Sisulu to finish. Don't be distracted,
Honorable Speaker. I think personal slides like that are uncomfortable, are unparliamentary. I will not talk about the Honorable Esther Hazen's wife or where that wife comes from. So I would like him to refrain from that. Now, let me tell you what has been achieved. Let me tell you what has been achieved by the ANC, the MPs, the government under President Zuma, specifically in relation to issues that were raised here in the motion, which in relation to the motion is corruption has spiraled out of control. Indeed, corruption is completely unacceptable wherever it rears its head, whatever the level it is. We, all of us, ought to be extremely concerned at all times. We in the ANC have expressed ourselves and our concern about this matter and have highlighted it at every step of the way. Specifically, the President has done so every time he has been here in his zona. Just to put the matter in perspective, corruption existed in this country long before the democratic dispensation. Our concern is that it should not have settled into a modus operandi of this dispensation, nor should it have been allowed to continue. What we seek to emphasize, which is very important, is that corruption is a societal problem and can only be solved by all of us dealing with it decisively. It is by its very nature very pervasive, and it corrodes every sphere of society, whether it is civil society, the private sector, or the public sector. Honorable members, let me tell you what this government has done in the judicial institutions. The state has increased its capacity to curb corruption. The capacity of the Special Investigation Unit has grown from 70 staff in 2003 to 600 in the present. From 2003, the SIU has saved government 1.6 billion rands. It has prevented future losses of 16 billion rands. That is what we have done. It has recovered 87 million rands. In addition, it has stopped 2.60 billion, of which 18 billion was in one department alone.
Honorable Minister,
as
your
at the
time
31st
has
of
expired.
December, the President had signed 34. The President had signed 34.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Speaker, this is a frivolous motion. This is a frivolous motion, and the people of this country see it for what it is. It should be thrown in the rubbish bin. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Olomisa.
Honorable Speaker and honorable members, South Africa finds itself faced with a leadership crisis of epic proportions. On the one hand, our economy is in shambles due to poor leadership and economic mismanagement. On the other hand, corruption has spiraled out of control. Fanning the flames is the fact that not only is President Zuma at the center of this mayhem, in many instances he is actually the cause. In fact, over the past decade, millions of taxpayers' monies have been spent trying to ensure that President Zuma never gets his day in court to answer numerous corruption charges against him. We therefore find ourselves at the precipice of a decision. We must stop burying our heads in the sand and confront the problem head-on. President is at the center of the problem facing South Africa today. It is for these reasons that the UDM believes that the time has come for us to discuss an amicable exit strategy for President Zuma. In the meantime, can the ruling party please take back President Zuma and keep him as far away from running the country as possible. That we have to request the ANC to take back its president because our people are unable to remove him from office, no matter how dissatisfied they are with his performance, points to the current flaw of our electoral system, where the party rather than the people elect the president. The UDM therefore proposes that we change our electoral system to ensure that people rather than the party directly elect the president, because as long as the status quo remains, we will continue to sit with presidents who do as they please and get away with it precisely because they are able to dispense patronage to pacify their political masters. Niyazi kakuhle nani hlelapho kule ndawo ukuze uba ninengxaki nalo tata, but ngenxa ube ninika izipositions anikwazi ukuthetha. Sithethela nina siyaninceda ngoku sanungxola. We also propose that all members of the executive are vetted in public hearings in order to ascertain their fitness for office. Sanele hambani naye ngokudala ilizwe liqhubele phambili. Enkosi.
The Honorable Groenewald.
Agbare Speaker, die president van Suid-Afrika word nie gekies deur die ANC nie. Die president van Suid-Afrika word in terme van artikel 86 van die grondwet gekies deur hierdie raad, die nasionale vergadering. En as ons gaan kyk ook na die skedule 3, dan is dit ook baie duidelik dat die president gekies word deur 'n geheime stemming, nie deur die ANC nie. En juist daarom, agbare Speaker, is die president verantwoordelik en verantwoordbaar en het hy sy verpligtinge teenoor die nasionale vergadering. Dit is wat dit behoort te wees. Daar's 'n leemte in die grondwet, in terme van artikel 102.2, wat sê dat as daar 'n mosie van wantroue bespreek word, dat dit nie ook in geheim is nie. Want ek dink, die ANC en die president sal 'n verrassing kry, as daar wel 'n geheime stemming is, en daardie leemte moet ook reggestel word. Agbare Speaker, die agbare president hardloop weg van sy verantwoordelikhede. In hierdie raadsaal was daar 'n bespreking en 'n debat gewees oor soldate van Suid-Afrika wat gesterf het in die Sentraal-Afrikaanse Republiek. Waar was die president? Hy's nogal die opperbevelhebber van die weermag. Hy hardloop weg van sy verpligtinge. Hy's nie hierson nie. Daar was 'n debat in hierdie raadsaal gewees oor sy vriende wat ongemagtig op Waterkloof gaan land. Die debat vind plaas. Waar is die agbare president? Hy hardloop weg van sy verpligtinge en verantwoordelikhede teenoor hierdie nasionale vergadering. Daar was 'n debat gewees in hierdie selfde raadsaal en vrae wat gevra word oor Nkandla, sy persoonlike huis. Hy sit hierso, ek vra vir hom verlede week, antwoord die vraag, maar hy hardloop weg. Hy antwoord nie sy vrae nie. Hier is vandag 'n debat oor 'n mosie van wantrou in die agbare president. Waar is hy? Hy hardloop weg. Ons het 'n vlugtende president in Suid-Afrika. Honorable Speaker, you know, in Hollywood, they made a movie. The title is The Runaway Bride. It's a bride who couldn't accept the responsibilities and the accountability of a marriage. And on her wedding day, she ran away, the runaway bride. In South Africa, we have a runaway president. He runs away from debates on the Central African Republic. He runs away from a debate on the Gupta scandal in Waterkloof. We have a runaway president to answer on spending of taxpayers' money in Nkandla. Honorable Chair, Speaker, the runaway president of South Africa, unfortunately, the difference between Hollywood and South Africa is in South Africa it's a reality. The Freedom Front Plus cannot have trust in a runaway president. I thank you.
The Honorable Likota.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On November 20, 2012, we appeared before Justice Dennis Davis and debated this issue before the court. It was the case of the ruling party that a motion of no confidence in the president is frivolous and not supported by facts. The court, on the other hand, held that such a debate is the very staff of deliberative democracy. And in that judgment, the judge held that in 1994, South Africa boldly began its journey away from a society based on authority to one predicated upon justification, from diktat to deliberation, and from arbitrary assertion to rational consideration. Today, we are busy with this exercise guided by that judgment of the court. And the Congress of the People must start by saying that the president has signally failed the country and that he has lost the confidence of the nation because he has undermined the Constitution at every available turn instead of standing up to the dictate of his own oath of office. Secondly, by creating a mountain of debt, which is now at 47% of GDP, it's an excessive, huge burden. Generations will have to shoulder this humongous burden with enormous pain and strain. Thirdly, political interference in the criminal justice system that sees the different arms of the police fighting one another rather than fighting criminals who are terrorizing the nation. There are on average today 50 armed robberies in our country and 4 people murdered every day. Fourthly, political appointments of incompetent cadres that are destroying parastatals and institutions of state. Fifthly, the ducking and diving on the massive expenditure of 250 million rand on his private estate undertaken right in front of his own eyes and the eyes of the nations. Sixthly, rampant corruption and lawlessness that has seen over 100 billion lost in futile and fruitless expenditure since 2009. Seventhly, his total failure to reverse the ever-widening inequality, which has seen the rich becoming extremely rich and the poor and the jobless remaining mired indefinitely in poverty and hopelessness. For these reasons, and for so many others that I do not have time to deal with today, we will not vote against this motion. We will support it. We will continue to urge you in the ruling party ranks to move along with the rest of us, because it's the only way in which we can save ourselves as a nation. I thank you.
The Honorable Swart.
Madam Speaker, the ACDP would like to remind the House of the straight-talking US President Harry S. Truman, who had a sign on his desk with this inscription: "The buck stops here." As President, he chose to accept personal responsibility for the way his country was governed. Speaker, we believe the buck stops with President Zuma for the failings of his administration, as pointed out in the notice of motion. Now, why do we say that? During the budget speech, very disappointing economic growth projections of 2% were announced. South Africa, we know, is caught in a low growth path. Of course, some of this is due to our past, low skills, poor public service, poverty and inequality. And yes, some blame can be apportioned to the slowdown in the world economy and the reduced demand for commodities, but not all. The President must accept responsibility for policy decisions resulting in slow economic growth. And his unfortunate penchant for deferring blame is not credible and must come to an end. To cite 2 straightforward examples, the President has blamed the Eskom crisis on apartheid and the Nkandla perceptions on the media. This is totally unacceptable and makes these allegations when we know, firstly, that the public protector on Nkandla is very clear. And secondly, former President Mbeki himself admitted that his government had not listened to Eskom when it wanted to increase generating capacity. Now, as the longest-serving member of the Justice Committee, I am shocked at what I've witnessed over the years regarding the politicization and weakening of the law enforcement agencies. The rot started with the disbanding of the Scorpions. This highly effective corruption-busting unit was disbanded because it was so successful in prosecuting politically connected ANC persons. This under President Zuma's watch. It is apparent that no institution is safe from political interference. This includes the NPA, the SAPS, the Hawks, SARS, and now even IPID, with its head, Robert McBride, last week accusing the Minister of Police of abusing his powers for illegitimate political reasons in court papers. The conclusion is inescapable that if you try to touch the President or one of his allies, your neck will be on the block. Now, we're dealing with corruption, and the head of corruption, the Corruption Watch head, Davis Lewis, has said, there's a huge failure on the part of political leadership. Even if they're not responsible for orchestrating the instability, they have to take responsibility for it. The buck stops there. Now, to conclude, the ACDP wishes to reiterate, we have no gripe with the President. We do not dislike him. In fact, he's a very affable person. We are, however, very concerned about the state of our nation on his watch. As the buck stops with President Zuma, we will support the motion of no confidence. I thank you.
The Honourable, the Deputy Minister of Transport, Honourable Chikunga.
Honourable Speaker, members of this august House, ladies and gentlemen, fellow South Africans, our constitutional scheme is premised on constitutional democracy. It is based on the will of the people and supremacy of the Constitution. In addition, all institutions of governance are subject to the Constitution, and most of them are accountable to Parliament. The constitutional framework establishes the executive to make policy, allocate resources, and govern the country. The legislature to make the laws, and an independent judiciary to settle disputes by interpretation of the law. In their wisdom, the founders of the Constitution also established a number of constitutional institutions to deepen and support democracy. The public protector is meant to investigate animal administration in state affairs. The South African Human Rights Commission promotes respect for human rights, and the Independent Electoral Commission manages elections, to name but a few. There are also other state institutions that are executive-based but have adequate independence, such as the Hawks and the National Prosecuting Authority. Largely, these institutions are meant to support democracy and show the will of the people, and that the pronouncement of the Constitution are observed. Speaker, today we have before us a motion of no confidence in President Jacob Zuma. But what we are actually being called to consider is a motion of no confidence in government itself. As a matter of fact, it is a motion of no confidence in the people of South Africa who vote for the African National Congress. It is a garbage we should strongly challenge and reject with the contempt it deserves. The South African state, led by President Zuma, is in its very essence defined by the strong institutions where the separation of powers is enforced. It is a principle this government has jealously guarded to protect state institutions from being manipulated to serve narrow political agendas. Where there have been instances of abuse of this principle, we have acted swiftly. Members of the House, it has been under this government that civil society institutions, including NGOs, have been able to hold executive to account through activism, mobilization, and in certain cases, even court action. Last year, 2014, we ranked 4th out of 52 countries in the Ibrahim Index of African Governance, an improvement on our ranking the year before. This year, we ranked 39th in the World Press Freedom Index, an upward move of 3 ranks.
The Interparliamentary Union's Global Parliamentary Report noted that our established practices on public participation, openness, and transparency could be regarded as exemplary. During the current president's tenure in office, a number of office institutions have received considerable support, showing the commitment of both the president and the ANC government to continued promotion of a transparent government committed to the principles of democracy. The Human Rights Commission's budget, for instance, in 2008-09 was at 63 million rand, and then the last financial year, it was almost double. And in fact, it amounted to 119.2 million rand. The Public Protector's budget has grown from 86.4 million rand in 2008 to 246 million rand in 2015. This means, in effect, the budget has almost tripled. This is proof of support of the Public Protector's office to fulfill its mandate. Also, during President Zuma's tenure, the allocation of separate budget for Office of the Chief Justice is part of moves to protect independence of the judiciary. However, this does not mean the executive cannot express an opinion disagreeing with a particular judgment. The courts themselves also get diverted on a particular point of law, hence the majority and minority judgment, as well as appeal system. The courts are independent and impartial, and the ruling party has always respected the constitutional injunction to assist and protect the independence of the courts. The opposition has been telling us that the heads of the Hawks, National Prosecuting Authority, and other semi-independent bodies must not be appointed by the executive. Yet, in most democracies, such appointments are made by the head of state. In addition, attorney generals with a similar role to the National Director of Public Prosecutions are in some countries members of the executive. It therefore makes one wonder why in South Africa, where the NDPP is not even a member of the executive, this is made an issue. Listen to this junk. When the respected head of the SIU, Advocate Sonia, announced his resignation, he emphasized it was to care for his very ill wife. Instead, we are fed poison that political meddling was being responsible for his resignation. What? Why must we be worried that such denied vetting processes may lead to a vetting gate that will uncover an assassin gate, the Askari gate, the Flag Plus gate, maybe the drug dealership gate, or a Tegwini Pants Down gate? What is the problem? Is it a Tegwini Pants Down Grey gate? My last word.
Honorable Deputy Minister, your time has expired.
Thank you very much, Chair.
The Honorable Gallo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Prince Marshall, the author of the book titled The Death of Our Society, on page 25, starts by asking a fundamental question as follows. How do we liberate ourselves from the belief that there is no alternative to the corrupt, incompetent, arrogant, and unaccountable government under whose weight the rest of society is collapsing? This is the question we must answer, not only as party representatives.
Honorable Nkwankwa, Honorable Gallo, can you take a seat?
Can I humbly request the members of the ruling party to contain their excitement? ukuze sizokwazi umvo honorable member. They are
All right,
progressing.
honorable members, please let's just calm down and allow Honorable Gallo to address us. Honorable Gallo.
That the question we must answer not only as party representatives in this House, but as a nation as a whole. In the light of the above, we must first and foremost agree as political parties that under the present electoral system, there is no way that one can call for a vote of no confidence in the ANC president and succeed, because the same president was imposed by the ANC to the people of this country. Therefore, the problem is not President Zuma as an individual, but the electoral system itself and his party. The AIC is not undermining the idea, but it is a fact that any member of this House accounts to his or her political party. Not even voters can remove the president. Only his party can do so, as it was the case with the former President Thabo Mbeki in September 2008. Honorable Speaker, how can one be so sure that she is doing well for the masses of this country when passing a vote of no confidence in the president as an individual, while he takes instructions from the Tule House, not from the people of this country? The AIC believes that the current electoral system needs to be changed, and a system that will allow the direct election of the president by the people and be put in place, a president who will be above party politics and be able to sign laws that are based on the will of the people. A president who will not appoint politically connected people in key positions in the NPA, SABC, SABC, so on and so forth, with the aim of controlling these state organs for narrow political wishes. The present system is flawed because it allows the ruling party bosses to instruct their members on how to behave in the legislatures, which bills to vote for, and how to hold members of the executive accountable. The AIC is aware that there is no perfect electoral system, but the AIC believes that the introduction of a direct presidential election might assist to bring about a people-centered and people-driven type of governance. The AIC is not convinced that passing a vote of no confidence in an individual will assist in doing away with the political rot facing our country. The role of public representatives.
The Honorable Tlowama.
Honorable Speaker, let it be known that Arang has no confidence in President Zuma, but Arang has warned that a mere debate supplemented by a meaningless open vote.
Honorable Speaker, may I address you?
Honorable Ndlozi.
Is it parliamentary for the honorable member to come and debate when he withdrew the motion earlier on?
We are very generous to this honorable member, so we are allowing him to debate indeed. Proceed, Honorable Tlawama.
Honorable Speaker, Madam Speaker, I want to say it has to be known that Arang has no confidence in President Zuma, but Arang has warned that a mere debate supplemented by a meaningless open vote that does not allow members of especially the ruling party to vote according to their true conviction serves no purpose. This motion will ultimately have the effect of eroding the objective of serving as a genuine mechanism of keeping the president and the rest of the cabinet to account. Honorable Speaker, I just want to emphasize that when we withdraw our motion, we did not withdraw it because we were afraid our tail were between our legs. We withdrew because we have a case. We have a case on the 11th of May that will decide on a secret ballot, because we know that most of the members of parliament here are here because of they are very much, very scared that if they can vote against President Zuma, they might be hungry in the future because they are here because of political stomach. And also what we know, Honorable Speaker, is that we are very much aware that some members of parliament are here not because of quality, because of favors. So we want to protect them because of this case of the 11th of May. All I need to tell you, Honorable Speaker, is that the Zuma presidency epitomized poverty of leadership. His association with the corrupt and fraudsters has made this country a time bomb and a way that is waiting to explode. The question we need to ask ourselves, Honorable Speaker, is where is Zuma's leadership when we have violent protests, when our country is burning? Do we allow ourselves to be dictated by politics of stomach, choose ways of cowards, when we can just replace President Zuma with a better, capable leader? What are we afraid of? Is comradeship more important than our people and country? His lack of leadership is obvious. His legacy is corruption after corruption. And then I want to say to all these members of parliament that you should never underestimate Arang. We will make sure that we pursue President Zuma. If we can't remove him in this fifth parliament, he'll be removed come the next year elections. Thank you.
The Honorable Godi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, comrades and honorable members. The weakness of Section 102 is that it does not stipulate the basis on which a motion of no confidence is passed. This can very well lead to a situation where such motions are no more than just political grandstanding. It is the contention of the APC that a motion of no confidence on a head of state must be a serious matter in the eyes of the nation. Frivolous motions like this one are politically denigrating. They are meant to embarrass. They are merely part of a game. There is no connect with the fundamental needs of the people. Let us take ourselves seriously. The responsibility of elected representatives is to address the grievances of the people. The APC refuses to chase after false flags. The key question or challenge facing our democracy is the continued resistance to or lack of fundamental transformation in the socio-economic...
Yes, Honorable Member. Sorry, Honorable Godi, can you take your seat?
I just want to check whether if the honorable member is prepared to take a question. Is it true that you are caucusing with the...
Honorable, let's ask the member whether the honorable member is prepared to take a question. You can't proceed and ask the question. Honorable Godi, are you prepared to take a question?
No.
Okay.
The key question or challenge facing our democracy is the continued resistance to or lack of fundamental transformation in the socio-economic power relations, the relations of production or the ownership of the means of production. Poverty, unemployment, and inequality remain the burden of the African people in general and the working class in particular. These challenges are what should be at the center of our work here. The politics and unseemly conduct that sometimes plays itself out in this House does not advance the struggle to realize the promise of freedom. That is, a fundamental change in the material conditions of our people. Yes, revolutionary morality enjoins us to serve the people wholeheartedly, guided by the Leninist dictum of everything for the people and nothing against the people. It enjoins us to fight against corruption and the waste of public resources, for the struggle to improve the welfare and well-being of the people. That struggle, that gigantic struggle, should not be clouded by these sorts of debates we're having now. I thank you.
The Honorable Self.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. The Honourable Gordie reminds me of that very famous English expression, he who pays the piper calls the tune. And therefore, I suppose he has to pay for the tune. But we are deadly serious about the motion of no confidence, and there are many reasons why President Zuma must go. and at the time of my disposal, I will only deal with some of them. The first is that President Jacob Zuma should never have become the president of South Africa in the first place, because prior to becoming president, he was facing over 700 charges of a serious criminal nature. 2 months before he was inaugurated, the prosecution against him was suddenly discontinued by the National Prosecuting Authority, making a mockery of the principle that all South Africans are equal before the law. Well, the DA is fighting, and we will continue to fight, to have this clearly irrational and unlawful decision set aside. Secondly, the Honourable Zuma has used every legal trick in the book and millions of rands of taxpayers' money to avoid his day in court. But this day is soon coming to a court near you. Not only that, but his private attorney is the President's special advisor paid for by the taxpayer. What advice, we wonder, does Mr. Hully give at our expense? Thirdly, and as a result, the Zuma administration has been characterized by a culture of impunity, where whether one gets prosecuted, fired, or suspended depends not on what one has done or hasn't done, but on which side of which faction within the ANC one belongs to and how slavishly one carries out the orders of number one. Look at Nkandla. Look at Guptagate. Look what's happening to the Hawks. Look what's happening to poor old Mr. McBride. This culture of impunity is powerfully reinforced by President Zuma's failure to account fully and in detail to Parliament. Despite his protestations to the contrary last week, he has avoided question time. When he gives them, his replies are evasive, generalized, and vacuous. Under his watch and with his encouragement, his government has allowed jamming devices and riot police to be introduced to Parliament. He is creating an authoritarian state in South Africa and presides over it with all the ruthlessness of Vladimir Putin and all the sleaze of Richard Nixon. Fourthly, this sorry state of affairs has become possible because President Zuma has appointed or intends to appoint key people in his administration as a result not of their abilities, but because of their loyalties to him and his faction of the ANC. Examples include the CEO and acting CEO of the SABC, Mr. Claudio Motsoeneng, the former NDPP advocate Menzi Simelane that we had to get thrown out by the Constitutional Court, and Mr. Vuma Mashinini, due to be parachuted directly from President Zuma's office into the Electoral Commission. But most seriously, the President has quite simply failed in his duty to lead. At the time where our economy is faltering, when load shedding makes it very difficult to run shops and businesses, when corruption is an everyday occurrence, where tens of thousands of jobs have been lost, when deserving students can't stay at university because NSFAS has failed, when xenophobia is rearing its ugly head, when South Africans are desperate for inspiration, vision and leadership, President Zuma giggled. Some of the participants in this debate don't seem to get how serious a liability the President is. And speakers from the ANC were particularly weak, and I'd like to address some of their comments. In particular, the Minister in the Presidency, who blamed the low growth rate in South Africa on the global economic slowdown. And he quoted Greece and Croatia and Ireland and so on. South Africa has a growth rate projected at 2%. Namibia, 5.1%. Botswana, 5.8%. Mozambique, 7.4%. Kenya, 5.7%. Why do we do worse than our neighbors? It's because of the lack of leadership, lack of inspiration, lack of vision by President Zuma. And then there was the Minister of Human Settlements. Now, she's a remarkably thin-skinned politician for somebody with so much experience. Her speech was a classic display of condescension, arrogance, and asininity. She referred to Twitter ratings, Mickey Mouse and Goofy and bats. I failed to understand what on earth she was trying to say. She quoted Milton. I'd like to quote Shakespeare. Her speech was full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And then my friend, the Honourable Cindy Chikunga, who I'm afraid I got lost with all the gates. But I noticed that in all the speech that she made not one word of defense of President Zuma. But I'd actually like to address myself directly to somebody who didn't take part in this debate, to the Honourable Jeremy Cronin. Now, the Honourable Cronin lectured me as a first-year student at UCT. And early in my second year, he was detained and eventually convicted for what were then described as offences against the state. He paid a terrible price for his belief, and I admire him for it. The Honourable Cronin ignited in me an aspiration that South Africa could become a nation united in its diversity, and in which everything that was rotten and evil in the apartheid regime could and would be overcome. Now, the very direct question that I would like to put to the Honourable Cronin is what we have now what you struggled for? Did your sacrifice justify the spawning of a new regime which, in most respects, is indistinguishable from the old? When you look around and see failure, greed, nepotism, corruption, tender fraud, aren't you sickened to the core? I know you are. And for every one of you, there are 10 other decent members of the ANC who are likewise appalled in what, in so short a time, our nation has become. You and the others you represent know that President Zuma is quite simply not worth his office and must go quickly for South Africa's sake.
Honourable members, I wish to call on
Honourable Chair,
Deputy
Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Zimande.
Can I raise a point of order?
You should have raised the point of order when the honourable member was still on the podium.
But I think it's important that you allow me to do that, Speaker.
He's off the podium.
May I address you, Honourable Speaker?
On what, Honourable Zimande?
On the points that have been made by the member.
No, Honourable Zimande. He's gone. He's finished and gone. Honourable JJ.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, honourable members.
Order, honourable members.
And just to say to honourable self, I mean, you asked about, or you referred to honourable Cronin's sacrifice. What was yours? Less than a year ago, on the 7th of May 2014,
Order,
the people of South Africa went to the polls to vote for the party of their choice to govern South Africa. 18,650,000 South Africans cast their votes, which represented 73.48% of registered voters. Of these, 11.47 or almost 11.437 million, or 62% of the voters, voted for the African National Congress, led by President Jacob Zuma, to govern South Africa. An overwhelming victory. The DA got just over 4 million votes, to be precise, 4,091,000. That amounted to 22.23% of the vote. Before the 2014 elections, the DA confidently proclaimed that it expected to almost double its national vote to about 30%. The DA couldn't even reach 30%, it only got 22%. So if the Honourable Maimane wants to talk about no confidence, the voting public clearly had no confidence in the DA. The mighty Achang, who brought the previous motion, only got 52,000 votes, 0.28%. And the EFF, who make a lot of noise here, and whose Honourable Member Sonti is now describing Shangans, one of the population groups of our country, as foreigners, got 1.169 million votes, or 6.35% of the vote.
What's the point of order, Honourable Ndlozi?
Honourable Chairperson, the Honourable Member is casting aspersions on the Honourable Sonti. We clarified, Honourable Speaker, that the anthropology of language in the townships, particularly in Gauteng, is such that that language refers to foreign African nationals.
Order.
And therefore he's out of order, Honorable Chairperson, because the implication is that we are xenophobic when we are not.
Order.
Honorable Ndlozi, you are actually, take a seat. You keep raising the issue of Honorable Sonti. Honorable Sonti is a different matter. No, I'm saying you keep raising the issue of of Honorable Sonti. You keep raising it. I mean, you keep reacting to people who are on the podium and on the issue of Honorable Sonti. That's a point of debate.
Can you please resolve that matter of that man that side?
No, sit down.
Can you please sit down?
Take a seat, Honorable Member. Honorable Masina. Honorable Masina, please take a seat. Let Honorable Jeffrey please continue with his speech.
Thanks. But so I referred to the 2014 election and the overwhelming victory. But here we are debating a motion of no confidence in the president. Obviously, the almost 38% of the voters who didn't vote for the ANC, and that includes, I would imagine, most of the opposition members of this House and a number of the commentators, did not want him to be president. One can assume that most still not want him to be president. But, Madam Speaker, unfortunately for the DA, the people of South Africa spoke 10 months ago. Nothing has substantially changed in terms of the points being raised by opposition speakers. And Honourable Maimane, you are trying to undo the election results by this motion. You are being disrespectful of democracy and contemptuous of the voters of South Africa by moving this motion of confidence. And incidentally, Honourable Maimane, you liked referring to or claimed that the President keeps saying he doesn't know when he doesn't want to take responsibility for something. I assume if you had answered the question around the drugs in your church, your response would have been, I did not know. The embarrassing disgrace that was the Ahang motion, which we were meant to debate a fortnight ago, only served to affirm our long-standing view that such motions are an abuse of Section 102 of the Constitution and a waste of Parliament's valuable time. And in this regard, I think it shows up the inadequacy of the majority judgment in the Constitutional Court that any member may bring a motion of no confidence without restrictions or thresholds. For a division, you need a threshold, but to bring a motion of no confidence, which must be debated, you don't need one. And incidentally, with Ahang, I don't think many members of the public know who they are. They voted for somebody else, another lady who's gone, and those two members are fighting each other and taking each other to court. A lot of Parliament's time has been wasted around Ahang's motion, and this second motion from the DA further distracts Parliament from the real business of addressing the serious challenges confronting many South Africans. But of course, the DA is used to wasting Parliament's time. Motions of no confidence, walking out of plenaries and committees, intentionally trying to prevent quorums. It seems as if they resort to these tactics because their arguments have no substance. I was meant to be speaking on the accusation made in the motion on the right of access to quality education having been violated. Honourable Maimane and Honourable Self said very little about that, or if anything, so I'm not going to say much. There are a lot of challenges with education, but there's a lot that has been done. Increased access to education with over 8 million learners in our no-free schools, up from 5 million in 2009. Increasing student enrollment at universities from 837,000 in 2009 to 938,000 in the 2012-13 financial year. Increasing the amount of money given to NSFAS and the number of students at university. Increasing the pass rate and so on. I imagine you didn't want to talk much about education because of the problems in the Western Cape. The embarrassing issue of the Bonnievale primary situation of a high school in Bonnievale, and the fact that it's taken you years to accommodate learners from that school in a prefabricated classroom. And I understand there are similar issues in Piketberg. The fact is that there are 10,500 children in the Western Cape who haven't managed to secure a place in school for the 2015 academic year. And I understand, and while this is going on, as the DA, you are closing schools in the poorer areas while keeping them open in the richer areas. And then there's the issue of you're paying more money to the richer quintiles. So those are all issues that one could speak about. On the issue of disobeying the public protector, I mean, I really wish you would read the judgment of the Cape High Court in the case of the Democratic Alliance, that's yourselves, versus the SABC, and the finding that of the public protector, the fact that the findings of and remedial action taken by the public protector are not binding, although it doesn't mean that these findings and recommendations and remedial action are mere recommendations which an organ of state may accept or reject. But the public protector findings are not being ignored. Parliament, the President and the SIU are all applying or have applied their minds. So please don't distort the facts to grab headlines. On the issue of whether you can say stealing the money here or the President stole the money, I wish you would also read the judgment in that SMS case. It related to freedom of speech during an election campaign and contrasting it with the Electoral Act. Parliament has different rules for what you may say and how you may put forward criticism. As far as the politicization of law enforcement agencies raised by the Honourable Swart, well, look, I mean, firstly, the Scorpions were disbanded not under President Zuma's watch as president. The issue and also nobody, Honourable Swart, because we were on the committee together, could actually say how the Kampepe recommendations could be implemented. And incidentally, Honourable Self, as far as the issue of the President's corruption charges, remember that they were thrown out of court by two separate High Court judges. So good luck with your case.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honourable
On
Member.
a point of order.
What's the point of order?
I propose that we must rule the member to be out of order to use the name Jacob Zuma, stealing and corruption in the same sentence.
Honourable.
Because in terms of your ruling,
No, Honourable Member.
Earlier ruling, is wrong to
No, Honourable Member.
to use the
Please
president,
take a seat.
his name, and those words in the same sentence. Can you please rule on that?
Please take a seat.
Honourable Maimane, you accuse the President for showing disdain for Parliament. But it's you who are showing disdain for Parliament by bringing this motion of confidence in the President and wasting Parliament's time. If the rules allowed it, I would have loved to have proposed a motion of no confidence in you as Leader of the Opposition for your lack of leadership. But actually, it wouldn't be worth the time. Another example of the contempt that the DA under your leadership is showing is the way you frustrate the passing of important bills by sending most of your members out of the House when you call for a division, and thus depriving the House of a quorum.
Order.
Ministers in
members.
particular cannot be in the House all the time as they are running departments which are based in the executive capital.
Don't scream.
All you are doing is providing a good argument as to why the executive and legislative capitals should be in the same place, and therefore why Parliament should move to Gauteng. What did the delaying of the passing of the Division of Revenue Bill achieve? If it was not passed, provinces would not be able to receive any money.
What's the point of order, Honourable?
The point of order, Madam Speaker, is that even if the DA was in the House, the ANC only had 183 votes. They wouldn't have been able to pass DORA. It's their fault that DORA didn't pass, not the opposition.
Honourable Member, your Chief Whip is on the floor and you are screaming. How do I hear your Chief Whip? Honourable Member,
Honourable Member, the Honourable Steenhuisen knows that if the DA hadn't sent their members out, there would have been a quorum. All you're doing is providing a good argument as to why the executive capital and legislative capital should be in the same place, and therefore why Parliament should move to Gauteng. The delay has just increased the pressure on the National Council of Provinces. But I think the best example of where your party stands is the statement by your Honourable Member, the Honourable McLachlan, at this very
The Honorable, the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Speaker. I really can see why the Honourable Jeffries remains a deputy, and it would save us a lot if he stayed that way. Honourable members, here's your simple choice. On your podium, you can face yes or no. On the matter of drugs, I will fight drugs wherever I go. Wherever I go, we will fight them. But be that as it may.
Order.
The choice is yes or no on your podium. And here's the choices. Yes, the president is a thief, or no, the president isn't a thief. If you want the motion to stand, yes, the president must go face charges of corruption, or no, the president mustn't go face charges of corruption. Yes, the president has broken democracy.
Honourable Speaker. Honourable, yes. Honourable. Take a seat, Honourable Maimane. Honourable Sisulu.
Honourable Speaker, you did rule on the issue of the word thief. You did rule.
Yes.
I'd like you please again to rule. In the same way as we would not be allowed to say that the Honourable Maimane is a drug dealer, we will not allow him to say the President is a thief either.
Honourable Maimane.
Yes,
Honourable Maimane, did you say the Honourable President is a thief?
I said people have a choice to vote. They can vote yes if they believe the president is a thief, or no if they don't believe he's a thief.
Yes.
It's their choice to
But
vote.
Honourable Maimane, you are bringing back the statement we had agreed you withdraw. You are introducing back that issue which I had asked you to withdraw.
I'm putting a choice. I withdraw, Honourable Speaker.
Okay.
You can choose either Nkandla or you can choose the people of South Africa in their houses.
Honourable
That
Speaker.
remains your choice.
Honourable Speaker.
Can you just stop the clock? Yes. Honourable Ndlozi.
Thanks, Honourable Speaker. The Honourable Deputy Minister of Justice argued there, Honourable Speaker, that the judgment of the Constitutional Court had to do with freedom of speech. I put it to you, Honourable Speaker, that according to Rule 44, members of Parliament are protected in terms of the provisions of the Constitution in as far as freedom
Except for when they are saying unparliamentary
I hear
statements.
you speak. Don't interject. I want to finish. So I'm saying that, Honourable Speaker, there is a substantial difference between saying the president is a thief and saying people have an option to vote whether the president is a thief or not. And I put it to you, that's exactly what the Honourable Deputy Minister kept saying, that we will be wrong to refer to the president as a thief. No one called him to order because he was not saying the president is a thief, although many of us think so, you know. So you must be consistent in the application of the rules, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Maimane can say, is the president a thief or not? It's a question.
Honourable
And it's substantially different.
Honourable Ndlozi, I've heard you. Please take your seat, and I don't take your point. Honourable Maimane, please proceed.
You can choose yes in support of the Guptas or no if you say that the president is only favoring the Guptas, then I will vote to have the president removed. But or you can vote no and say the Guptas must have free reign. Honourable members, the choice today is whether we choose President Zuma or we choose the people of South Africa. I choose South Africa and I say President Zuma must go.
Order, order. Honourable members, that concludes the debate. I now put the motion.
Honourable Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Mulder.
I'm rising on a point of order.
What's the point of order, Honourable Mulder?
Honourable Speaker, the Honourable President is elected in the House after the election in terms of Rule 8 of the rules that says that he's elected by the members of the House.
Yes.
And then it refers to Section 86(1) and 2 of the Constitution. Now, the motion of no confidence brought today by the Leader of the Opposition is in terms of Section 102(2) of the Constitution.
Yes.
And that section says the following. If the National Assembly by a vote supported by a majority of its members, passes a motion of no confidence in the President and the other members of the Cabinet and any Deputy Minister must resign.
Yes.
Now, the point I'm making, Honourable Speaker, is that the 4 speakers on behalf of the ruling party all have a direct vested interest. 2 ministers and 2 deputy ministers were the only speakers that came to the rescue of the President. We did not hear from a single ordinary member of this House.
Honorable Mulder, all the speakers who spoke for the ANC are members of this Parliament. I now wish to put the motion, honourable members. Are there any objections? Honourable Dlozi, I'm proceeding to put the motion.
Respectfully, Speaker.
What's the issue?
We want to put it to you that the correct interpretation of the constitutional clause the Honourable Mulder has read, its implications are that all who are hired and serve at the pleasure of the President must not vote. Members of the Cabinet and deputy ministers and ministers must not vote because they have a vested interest in that the plate of food that they eat on their night is provided by the President. So they have no conscience to participate in terms of vote on this motion. We appreciate their input, but we would put it to you, Honourable Speaker, that ministers and deputy ministers must not participate in this debate. They are hired by the President.
Honourable Dlozi, you might argue a point, but there is no rule providing for your point. These are all members of this House. These are all members of Parliament. And as such, they enjoy the same rights as other members of Parliament.
Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Malema.
But the Constitution is higher than the rules. And the Constitution,
where does the Constitution say they must not vote?
It says that if the President leaves, they will have to leave. And it has got a direct implications on them.
Honourable Malema.
Comrade Jeff, you know very well that if the President leaves, you are going.
Honourable members, please allow me to proceed with the motion, Honourable Sisulu. Honourable Buthelezi.
Honourable Speaker, I just wanted to ask a question.
Honourable?
I just wanted to know, because I'm a bit confused, whether, in fact, if all the deputy ministers and ministers didn't vote, whether, in fact, the ANC would not be in the majority. Because otherwise, I have a right to ask a question. You have no right to shout at me. Because this reminds me of a book I read when I was young by Swift, Gulliver's Travels, where there were professors who were busy changing feces into original food.
Honourable members, I believe, honourable members, that we should proceed with the motion, then we will find out how we will fare after that. And honourable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections to the motion? I now put the question. Those in favour of the motion will say aye. Aye. And those against say no. I think the noes have it.
Madam Speaker.
Honourable Steenhuisen.
In terms of the rules, the Democratic Alliance calls for a division.
The division has been called for. The bells will be rung for 5 minutes. I don't want to put